Hello and welcome to today's lesson from the world's leading experts in confinement, our prison residents. We learned today's lesson with the prison residents, and it's one that you have heard before, and that is to walk our talk. Now, like I mentioned previously, when we come together with a new team of prison residents inside, we set some agreements of how we're going to engage with each other and what kind of space we want to hold, and what is going to be the expectation of our behaviors for ourselves individually and collectively. And as I've mentioned, that bar for us is up there. It's a really high bar. And within the first few weeks of us meeting together, and again we meet about 3 hours every week, prison residents will really test our own commitment to those agreements. They want to see if we're walking our talk. Now, that talk was defined collectively, but we each made an individual commitment to those collective agreements. So are we, as outside volunteers, as holders of the space, as facilitators of the space, willing to walk our talk? And what's really fun to see is once they realize that we are committed and we are going to do our best to engage with those agreements and live in those agreements every moment, well, they start shifting their behaviors like that. And I mean, no exaggeration, within 5 weeks or so of us meeting together for 3 hours a week, we have a completely different team dynamic. And now, like I've mentioned before, it's actually the prison residents who are engaging and who are upholding those agreements with each other. And we all know that testing of boundaries is a human behavior. Like, anyone who has kids knows that kids will test boundaries all the time. In work teams, you have your team members or your colleagues that have tested your boundaries. I mean, I believe it happens in every work circumstance or every life circumstance. And the beauty of walking our talk, I have found 2 gifts that come out of that experience. The first one is that it creates a safer space. As we walk our talk, well, it makes the boundaries of the space really clear. One, we've defined them before, so we've put words to them. And on top of that, our commitment to them and the fact that there is very little misalignment or deviation between our thoughts, our words, and our actions makes it that we're clear that that's where the boundaries actually are. And so the space becomes incredibly safe. And that matters. Because if you want a team or a group of people or even a family right now to come up with creative, fun solutions to things, it's going to require safety. If you want a space in which people are more apt and able to change and adapt, it's going to require safety. That's why walking your talk is so important in this season. The second thing I observed is that when I walk my talk, and for that matter, when I talk my walk, well, it invites me to continuously bring my thoughts, my words, and my actions into greater alignment. And the fact of the matter is we're human beings, okay? So we're not constantly going to have our thoughts, our words, and our actions in alignment because we're human beings. And that's okay. Because once you've created a safe space, well, now the team, the group, the household can actually come together and mirror each other and be able to support each other in recognizing that misalignment that might happen between our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And as I get mirrored back the places where I'm not in full alignment, well, it actually enhances my integrity. And the huge power of that is that when I live more deeply in integrity, it makes relationships so much more easeful and productive. Because I and others are really clear about where I stand and how I wish to move through the world. And when I know that about myself and I know that about everyone else around me, well, it makes dynamics and interactions and conversations and relationships very easy. So these are some of the values and the power that comes from walking our talk. And so I invite you to experiment with it, to allow yourself to hold yourself to a higher standard and get to that deeper alignment between your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And as you've experimented with yourself, then you can actually take the step of inviting your family or your team or whomever, whichever group of people around you makes sense, to engage with it. Because I'll tell you, from my experience inside with our guys, and actually for that matter with my colleagues and at home, all three of those, it is so much actually fun to engage with this together and to be able to support each other in this way. As long as it's done from a place of safety, and as long as any kind of mirroring back of what we're seeing in another's behavior is done with dignity, respect, and love, and not from a place of blaming and condemnation. But you respect and honor that boundary and that rule for yourself. You will love what you experience when you have that deeper alignment of your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Have a brilliant day.